Good evening, everyone, and welcome into a very important and jam-packed week in the world of iRacing here. This next 7 days is going to be awesome. This is the iRacing Today radio show number 133 for March the 3rd, 2016. My name is Trevor Cameron. I am your host this evening, as I usually am. And beside me, virtually and with a fake face once again, I have Mr. Chad Dalton. How you doing tonight, Chad?
I am doing fantastic this evening. My fake face looks beautiful, and I'm ready for a big show.
A really big show. Well, actually, the show itself is not incredibly huge itself. However, there's a lot kind of jam-packed in this next, call it, 8-9 days here. There's a lot going on in the world of iRacing, both, with just me and, there's some stuff going on in the sim too. So, that's pretty cool. But this week, we promise we will not keep you hostage as long as we did last week. Not that we think that, you can stop listening whenever you want. Don't. But you could. But, but still don't. But anyway, this week we have got news on the upcoming next endurance race. Give you some details on that. We're going to talk a little bit about a fun little forum thread that Chad had found in there, and might read a little bit out of that one as well. So a reminder about our golf tournament stuff, and of course, a little bit of breaking news on what's coming up with the new build, the time, and a neat little feature that they've added in regarding the build coming up. And, of course, we've got poll questions because this is now a new month, so we're going to talk about last month's poll question, and we've got our experiences, and I think we're going to talk a little bit about what our Season 2 plans are, because, as we mentioned, it's a big, couple of 8-9 days here, because within the next week or so, we're going to have the new build, and then after that's the next season. It's a lot going on, Chad. I mean, it's exciting times. Not the end times. It's definitely not the end times, I don't think. Or beware the Ides of March. It's not the Ides of March, but if it were, you should probably beware of them. But what you should not be aware of is you should not be aware or beware. Be aware? You should be aware of, but don't be scared of Sebring. Because you're going to get a chance to race there for 12 hours. Hopefully not by yourself. I'd suggest bringing a team. That is coming up in the next little bit. Not this weekend coming up, but the weekend after that. And why don't you give us some details on that, Mr. Chad?
Yeah, so March 12th and now 13th is your opportunity to race in the 12 hours of Sebring. There's been a bit of an uproar about this race because for those of you that have been a member for a while and have participated in some of these endurance racing events, you'll know that they've always, well, at least the ones, that like the Daytona 24, the Sebring 12 hours, the 6 hours at the Glen, etc., they have only had one time slot, which has typically been 1300 GMT, or when the time changes over in the States, then becomes 1400 GMT somehow. But anyways, so they threw in 3 new start times. And I'll go ahead and read the start times before we discuss this. So the new start times are March the 12th, 0200 GMT, which is 1 a.m. Eastern Time. And then, of course, your standard one on March the 12th, 1300 GMT at 8 a.m. Eastern. 1700 GMT, which is noon Eastern, high noon.
Oh, yeah.
Sunday, March the 13th at 1400 GMT, which becomes 9 a.m. Eastern Time, because in the middle of the night there's a time change for daylight savings in the States.
That's right. That is the time. Man, how many people do you think on this side of the pond, who do not use GMT, who use, our time zones over here, are going to miss the start of that race, or are going to miss their shift on that day? Because they'll be all like, oh yeah, my stint's coming up in a couple hours, it'll be fine, and then all of a sudden his phone blows up.
Where are you? So yes, 4 times now to do the Sebring 12 hours. Now, we mentioned at the 24 hours of Daytona just about a month ago that they threw up a second server. So, but that was not pre-planned and was not because they wanted to give everybody an extra chance to race. It was because, oh dear, not everybody made it in. We need to throw up another server so that people can participate in the race. This is obviously pre-planned and has kind of put the community in an uproar because now here's the thing. Actually, let me start with this.
All right.
I get why iRacing has done this because it gives people from all around the world that are in way different time zones than 1300 GMT, 8 a.m. Eastern, a chance to not start the race, hopefully, at a ridiculous hour or even, finish the race at a ridiculous hour. For example, 1300 GMT, 8 a.m. Eastern, I believe is midnight in Australia. So Australians have to race the first, 8 hours of a race through the night.
That is pretty crappy when you think about it. It's like,
It
all right,
is.
here's your 12-hour endurance race. Oh, by the way, the entire 12 hours pretty much happens when you should be sleeping. So,
Exactly. There's only going to be about 4 hours during the morning hours for them. Everything else is when they should be asleep, as Trevor said. So, because of that reason, I totally understand why iRacing has added in different time slots to kind of be more accommodating. However, my beef with it and the beef of the majority of the community is that endurance races were previously only having the one time slot, except for the asterisk for the 24 hours of Daytona, where their website was kind of crappy. It kind of gave it its own special fill and its own special race, if you will, because there was only one time slot. Everybody that was going to participate was in the servers at that time rather, and obviously they were split up into however many splits. And I think the community has responded in a negative fashion because now it's kind of just like another race, like for example the Indianapolis 500, where they're going to have like 3 different days of racing, all kinds of different times that you can join. And I get why they have it for those because they're individual races. Not you're only, and the word individual stands out because you're the only one doing it.
right.
Whereas these races, being endurance, I don't totally agree with all the different time zones because most people have a team full of drivers, and I think you should just work it out to where people, like kind of what we tried to do anyways, to where people aren't up at ridiculous hours and their time zone. So I don't know that I totally agree with this one. I kind of wish it was just the one time zone, but at the same time, I get why they did it.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I don't think the amount of ire that has come out of the community is necessarily justified. Like you were saying, I can understand their point. I can understand why it might make it seem less special. But on the other hand, they are trying to accommodate more people. And, the flip side of it, too, is, hey, you know what? If there's less people all trying to log in at the same time, maybe everything won't come crashing down like a house of cards. I mean, there's also that, that aspect of it as well, which will probably help out. So, like you said, a lot of the community, it just feel like it takes away from that specialness. It's not so special anymore. And that, I think, irks some people. I don't know what it'll do for the participation. I mean, are they going to have as many people? I mean, they're obviously not going to have as many people in each time zone because you only have so much time. I mean, the other side of it, too, is let's say, on the positive side, let's say if things go horribly, horribly wrong and you're in the first time zone because that's what works out for you, 1 a.m. Eastern, would not be what worked out best for me, but let's say if it was on the other side of the country, wait, how can it be 2 GMT and 1 a.m. Eastern? Your numbers make no sense, sir. That's...
I just copy what iRacing gives me.
Yeah, because that's totally wrong, because 2 o'clock in the morning is not 1 o'clock in the morning here. It's not like time compacts.
I know.
Like, the closer you get to midnight, the closer the times actually get.
It is actually 9 p.m. Eastern on Friday, so I will update this on the fly because we are a live radio show. So, Let me read these just so we are correct. Scratch the last 10 minutes of your life.
Okay.
Saturday at 0200 GMT, which is Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Saturday at 1300 GMT, which is Saturday at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Saturday at 1700 GMT, which is Saturday at noon Eastern. And Sunday, 1400 GMT, which is Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. That is the 11th through the 13th now, because we've added another day.
Right. Okay. So,
technically speaking.
back on track. I could see it where, you know, you signed...
We should just start over again.
All right. This is show number 133. Really big shoe. Really big shoe. We've got... but, I mean, if you were in one of the earlier races and things went horribly wrong, you could make one of the later races. Well, I mean, heck, you even have the choice because it's only the 12-hour race here. You've actually could race several of these. I mean, you know, Friday at 9 to... Okay, so you could probably race at least 2 of these, if not 3. Yeah, you could actually get 3 of them in if you really wanted to. So, if you were a sucker for endurance racing, well, hey, stop complaining. Man, you got 3 shots at winning this sucker, so...
And you could make all 4 work if you had a different team. It's like, let's say you run the 9 p.m. 0200 race, and then you wanted to make the 1300 8 a.m. race, which is obviously only 11 hours later. You could have a different team, I would think.
Yeah.
That could sign up, that you could join.
Yeah, I mean, you finish off you finish off the one stint while your other guy signs into the other team, and yeah, you could. I mean, that would make for a long day, but you could do it. I mean, we've done a 24-hour race. I'd suggest having more than 2 people, maybe, if you're going to do that. You know, where a lot of teams, I think, are going with 2 people because 12 hours, it kind of splits out nicely that way. Although, as we discovered in the 24-hour race, that 3 hours doing a stint, it can take its toll. I mean, at the end of my second 3-hour stint, my butt was not happy. I wanted to get up and never sit down again. So, you know, there is that. But, so, in the end result it is what it is. I think it'll be easier on the sim as far as load goes. It gives people more of an opportunity to find something that fits their schedule. And, hey, who knows? Maybe this will actually increase participation because some people might be all like, you know, with the original stint, Saturday, 8 o'clock in the morning, you know, Eastern time, that might not have worked for them. They might have had plans, you know, maybe Friday night works way better, maybe Sunday works better for them. So maybe we'll get more overall participation. Who knows? But we'll have to see how it works out. I mean, this is the first race of this type that they've had these splits, so we'll see how the community handles it and what the participation's like. And iRacing is not above adjusting things if they didn't work. They'll be like, oh, well, that was a horrible idea. Let's not do that again. I mean, is not beyond the realm of possibility. So we shall see.
True. Now, a couple of program notes. iRacing will not be using the brand new Mercedes AMG GT3 or the Audi R8 GT3 car in the 12 hours of Sebring. Several people have asked for it to be included or if it will be included. Steve Myers confirmed today that it will not be included in the races because some people complained that they would not have enough time to get some practice in because, let's face it, if the bill comes out and all goes as planned on March the 8th, that would basically give you, by the time most people get the bill downloaded and get a chance to jump on, you'd have about 3 days of practice to get up to speed and all that stuff. And I'm sure some people could pull it off, but not everybody.
Yeah.
So they decided not to do that. Now the cars that will be in the race are going to be the same ones that you saw in the 24 Hours of Daytona, which is the Corvette Daytona prototype. And then in the GT3 class will be the Ford GT, the BMW GT3, the Rough GT3, and the McLaren GT3. So 5 cars there. There was talk of them potentially having 6. Doesn't look like they are going to do that after all.
Right. Now, I mean, if people might be, you know, might think, well, what does it matter if I don't have enough practice time for the Mercedes or, you know, for the Audi? I mean, if I didn't have enough practice, I'm not going to run that car, so it's not a big deal. Well, I believe the consensus probably is thinking not necessarily whether or not you could do it, it's whether or not the people that you're sharing the track with are all like, oh, wow, we got the Mercedes now? Let's go. Wow. And then spin out on the start, you know. So I can understand that. Disappointing. I mean, and I know that, you know, certain team members of ours are, you know, really big on the Audi. But looking at the pictures, man, that Mercedes is just a beast looking of a car. Like, I don't need that car because, you know, anything that's going to be racing in, I have the other cars, you know, in that series. But, man, that thing looks nice. I have no idea how it handles. I have no idea. I know nothing else about that car except for it looks amazing.
Yep.
So, and it was funny. I was actually looking up at the pictures at the on the iRacing site, you know, because they have it up there. Up now, you can actually look at the pictures and the stats on it and stuff. And I was looking at the pictures, and I Google searched the car, and there was like a couple pictures that just the angle and everything, and I looked like side by side from the iRacing, you know, render and the actual picture of the car, and like it was kind of hard to tell which was which. Like it looked that good. Now, obviously, when they're going to take their screenshots for iRacing, they are going to, you know, have it at its utmost perfect scenario. But man, look good. So, but anyway, so you will not be racing those cars in that race, but you will be able to race them soon, and not like iRacing soon, like real calendar soon. But we'll talk about that in a couple minutes here when we talk about the new build coming out. We don't have a lot of news on that, but we got some stuff on that. But here's a cool little thing that Chad found on the iRacing forums, and we'll put a link in the show notes so you can find it nice and easy, but it's in the general off-topic discussion, i.e. the melting pool for everything that people want to talk about in iRacing. And it's a topic called, you know you're an iRacer when, obviously, you know, mimicking the you know you're a redneck when. And I just took a quick glance through here, and some of these are pretty dang funny. The guy who started the thread, I'll read his, but it's 5 pages as of right now. Again, it's the iRacing forum, so travel at your own peril, because there could be bad things in there. I don't know. Some people swear. Some people make fun of other people. I can't control them. But Nicholas Harrison is the guy who started it, and his are, while accelerating in your daily driver, you reach for the paddle shifters that aren't there. Now, technically, my Lexus actually doesn't have paddle shifters. It has shifter buttons on it. I don't use them, but they're there. He says you try to clutch when slowing down and realize you drive an automatic on the daily. You hit a rumble strip coming down an off-ramp, and you get a little excited. I like that one. And the fourth reason he gave was you get the urge to bump draft people in traffic.
My favorite one that I've seen so far is from Matthew, and he says, you spot for your wife on the freeway, outside, corner, clear, clear, clear.
Outside door, outside corner.
Still there, hanging with you here. Still there, and clear.
Outside's clear if you need it.
Another one I liked was when you're involved in an accident and your first thought is to contact NIM Cross rather than the insurance company.
You just get out your car and just start yelling at the guy. I'm gonna protest you.
NIM Cross isn't gonna like what you did, mister.
Oh, let's see. Yelling out green flag, green, green when the traffic light turns green. Oh, oh, that is funny.
Here's another one from Matthew Dalton. When you find yourself wondering if the accident you've just had will leave you with optional repairs or not that the wife won't notice.
Oh, that is funny. When you get in a wreck, then forget to hold the brake and destroy 2 or 3 other cars that would not have been involved. Hold the brake, hold the brake, hold the brake.
When you accidentally cut a corner and panic that you'll get a 1X. You keep wanting to adjust your seat because the field of view is all wrong.
I don't know. I don't even understand where I'm at right now. I mean, you know, I can't see the dash. Oh,
Uh, when you think of a gas station as your pit box, get a windshield tear off full tank, but you skip changing tires.
that'd be hilarious if you actually just put windshield tear offs on your car and then you just pull into the pull into the gas station, shrunk, and then pull away. That'd be funny. It would only be funny to you because nobody else would notice that it was happening, but you'd laugh.
Yep.
But anyway, there are some good ones in there. So, oh, Chad found one.
When you push the pit limiter button and downshift into first, going into a school zone. Good fun.
I think it'd be better off. You go in there and you get pulled over for speeding in the school zone. You know, it's like I hit the pit limiter, officer. I don't know what happened. Maybe it. You know, I set I set the RPM wrong. I don't know. You know, or my tag was in the green the entire time, so I couldn't have been speeding. You know? Can you tell me what segments you caught me in, officer? Yeah. Oh man. But anyway, there is some good hilarity in there. So make sure that you guys, if you're looking for a little bit of a laugh, head on over there and take a look and read and laugh. See, there's good things in the forums. We don't always, you know, we're not always ragging on the forums. Sometimes there's good, funny stuff. But like I said, I'll put a link in the show notes, and Chad's still reading it. Apparently, go.
Well, the last one that I will say, you keep looking at license plates trying to figure out if you're in the top split and what class they are.
It's like, oh, okay. Oh man, there's not a lot of points up for offer here in this
Yeah.
on this highway.
So, the show golf tournament.
Yes.
We are in the final hours of said tourney. So, you know, if you have not played yet, might want to do that.
Or you know, if you're listening live, just kind of open it up in another window and you know, play around while you're listening to us talk about stuff. So you could do that too. Just get it out of the way, get it done. So, because you won't I mean, we won't be able to talk about your score if you don't finish the things. I'm pretty sure your score doesn't show up if you don't finish it. So
Yeah, exactly. So currently, we have had 9 people finish, and scores as of now. Of course, this is not final, so you know, but it's pretty close to final.
right.
We have Red Robin 347 shooting a 62, 65, 60, 61
Man.
in his 4 rounds to score a whopping 40 under par.
40 under par, people. 40.
That is an iRacing Today radio record,
Indeed.
I believe. In second place, we have Itch Cadillac, who's a nice guy,
Yeah.
finishing at 14 under par. Not bad. Still only, you know, like forever behind the leader. Adam Hollick comes home, well, is currently in third anyways, I shouldn't say comes home, shooting a solid 7 under par. And as of right now, those 3 are the only people under par.
Notice he has not read my name yet.
Yes. In fourth is Kid 444, who shot a 4-day total of 6 over par. In fifth is Trigger Fish, who is at 9 over par. In sixth is Ratface,
Ooh,
who is at 13 over par.
respectable. Although that I was on pace for a much better round than that until the 4th round, and things kind of fell off the wheels there. I think half of my overparness came from that one round, and the rest of it was like the other half was combined of the previous 3. Something went bad in that round. I don't know what happened, but it did not go well.
I see. In 7th is Jupiter Bird at 18 over par. 8th is Scooter 17 at 21 over. And currently bringing up the rear is Jeff McPherson at 31 over par.
How many? I'm sorry?
31.
31. Jeff. What are you doing, man?
Well, I think he's doing the thing like it was last tournament where the person that scores the highest over par actually wins the tournament.
Oh, that wasn't what we're doing.
It wasn't. So, sorry, Jeff, you do not win. You finished last. At least as of now.
Right. It could change.
Yeah, so if you're in the middle of playing, make sure you finish by tonight or tomorrow, because I believe that February, March the 4th is the final day, which, I don't know, that's tomorrow or something.
Or
So,
something.
might want to get that done.
Yeah, like I said, I was actually surprised at how unrusty I was, all things considered. And it'd been a while. Like, I haven't played golf club for a bunch now, but getting back in there, it's a good, relaxing game. Even though it's golf, and golf has a tendency to occasionally make you upset and yell and scream, and I will not lie, I did occasionally give my computer screen the finger a few times after missing some putts. But only I could see it. It was, but it didn't matter. That's all that I had to do. It's like, really.
Wow.
But just to have something, listening to a podcast, or even having YouTube up over on another page, just something to relax and just do no stress really, other than other than those extreme stress moments. But it was. Let's just say if the NSA is logged in and they've turned on my webcams to monitor me, then they got some interesting footage during that golf tournament. But but yeah, that game is still like gorgeous, and of course now that I've got my new video card in there, when I went in this time, I previously had some of the settings down, so I turned everything as high as it would go, and it was. It's a pretty game, especially when you're golfing around the water. It's really nice looking. So, plus 36 on PS4 is sorry, one of the people in the chat room. Plus 36. But anyway.
Yeah, I believe that was Larry.
Yeah. So anyway, if you haven't
For some reason, his score doesn't show up.
That's weird because it's cross-play, so it should have.
Unless he hasn't finished yet, but...
Weird.
Oh, well.
Anyway, moving right along. I don't think we know too much. Well, okay, we do know some stuff about the build. We know that they're going to be doing their stage rollout of DirectX 11 is going to be coming in the build. We know the new content that's coming out in the build. We know flashing headlights are coming in the build. I think that's about the extent of what we know at this point in time. Because we obviously don't have release notes in hand yet. We'll talk about that a whole bunch next week, because we'll obviously have them in hand because our next show doesn't record until after the build is supposed to have come out. Even if it falls flat on its face, we'll still have the release notes by the time we record next time. So, but for those who do not know, who may have, who missed the notice in what's going on, the build will be coming out on March the 8th, so next Tuesday, which is, man, a super busy day. Like, everything's happening on that day. Like, I have stuff in my personal life that's going on, stuff in my work life that's going on, game stuff that's going on. Like, March 8th is just my wife has a speeding ticket that is due on the 8th that I have to pay off before. Actually, no, it wasn't a speeding ticket. It was a not wearing her seatbelt ticket. So that's due on the 8th. Just so much going on the 8th. But also on the 8th is your...
You Canadians like to break the wall up there.
I tell you, man, we're a bunch of rebels. It is the release for Season 2 2016 is releasing or at least the build is going to be deployed on the 8th of March, next Tuesday, at 12 o'clock GMT or 7 o'clock Eastern Time. And the downtime schedule is as follows. On the 8th at 1 o'clock in the morning Eastern Time or 6 o'clock in the morning UTC, the hosted sessions will become unavailable. So they're going to say, hey, you know what? All right, shut her down. No more hosted sessions, no more leak sessions, none of that stuff. So that we can prepare that at 7 o'clock in the morning, the service will become unavailable. That's when you get that pretty page that says, hey, are you signing in for iRacing for the first time? Well, it's not here, so come back later. Or, watch this nice video of stuff. And then apparently at 12 o'clock Eastern Time, or 1700 UTC GMT, then the service will...
And don't forget about AEDT.
There's too many time zones, man. Will be... Actually, AEDT, see, that's when the Division, release time has been scheduled out, although I still don't get to play the game until 10 o'clock on Monday night, even though the servers are open at 6 o'clock in the morning my time. Very frustrated about that. I took the day off work so I could play the Division. Well, I had an appointment that I was going to be gone for the morning anyway, so I figured I'd take the rest of the day off. But I figured once the appointment was done, then I could play the Division, like stream it on Twitch for you guys. No! I have to wait till 10 o'clock at night. Very upset about that. But it's releasing at midnight AEDT, which is what reminded me of it. But anyway, 5 hours later, 5 o'clock GMT or noon Eastern Time, the service will be restored. I'm surprised they didn't put a little asterisk up there that said, hey, probably, based on previous experiences, but especially with building out, this DX11 thing excites me and terrifies me all at the same time. But basically, they are opening a 5-hour window to get this done on the Tuesday the 8th. So that's when you can expect the new build to come out. Like I said, we'll have release notes before then, so we can talk about those and all that good stuff. But as part of this, they're obviously releasing some new content, as we mentioned. In this particular case, no track. I don't remember the last time that we actually had a build where we didn't have a track. But we're not getting a new track this time by, and that's fine. We are getting, of course, the Audi R8 LMS, the Mercedes AMG GT3 car, and the Renault 2.0, or the Formula Renault 2.0. Also, we are getting the new Mazda MX-5 Cup as well, the 2016 model, so that is being updated. Well, the old model will still be there, but the new model is becoming available. So you're going to have some new content. They're going, it's going down, so you're not going to be able to use this stuff yet. However, they have introduced some new functionality, and that is the concept of pre-ordering, which they've done in the past, so that's not necessarily new. However, there's a particular reason why they're doing it, and that is because they are adding some functionality to iRacing while they're down for maintenance. When you get the screen that says, hey, we're not here, come back later, please leave a message at the tone. Beginning with the scheduled downtime for the Season 2 update, you will be able to load iRacing in single-car testing mode when they are in maintenance mode. So when the service is down and you can't do anything else, you'll still be able to do single-car testing mode. It says you'll be able to drive any content that you have previously downloaded and is up to date. So, meaning, that's why they've opened up the pre-orders for these new cars, because that way you'll be able to load them before the maintenance period, so you can actually test them while they're in maintenance, is basically the entire idea. Of course, the new MX-5 Cup is a free car, but because it's free, well, you don't have to pre-order it in order to get it to load. They do mention also, don't worry, we'll make the downloader available while we're on maintenance on Tuesday, so you can upload the new content that is not yet available. So they're going to go down for maintenance. The loader's still going to be available. You can load the new cars in and start doing some single car testing on any track you want with any car that you have and just download it, which is pretty cool. I mean, it's a step in the right direction where we've always kind of said, hey, when you're down for maintenance, can I just run some laps? Or can I do something with the sim as opposed to just being gone and off the face of the earth? Well, this is a step in that direction. They say... Now, here's where it gets... I'm not going to go with confusing, but it's certainly not as simple as one would think. Here we go. If you would like to be able to test the new content during maintenance on Tuesday, you will need to do the following. Number 1, pre-order any of the cars you're interested in, because you will not have access to your store or the website while it is down for maintenance. So you will have had to have pre-ordered the content beforehand. You won't be able to load it because it's not available yet, but you have to buy it first because, well, you can't access the store, so you can't download it, or you can't buy it. Number 2, update any current cars or tracks you wish to have access to prior to the maintenance window. Well, we'll all have our stuff, typically is updated if we've been racing at a given point in time. But make sure you take special effort to do it on, say, Monday night. Number 3, look for the downloader link that we will post at testdrive.iracing.com. Again, that is testdrive.iracing.com, which is not active now. It will be active once the maintenance begins. So, once you go to that page, you will be able to find the downloader ink. Downloader ink? I don't know. Maybe it's a squid. I don't know. You can download ink. Who uses a printer anymore? You don't need ink. But you can go to that download link that they post on that page in order to download the content that you pre-ordered that will now be available, as opposed to when, say, the stuff that you already had. And number 4. That's not 4. That's 3. Number 4. While we're in maintenance, now here's where it gets really weird. While we are in maintenance, create an account here at that testdrive.iracing.com. It says you must use the email associated with your iRacing account when you create this account, which makes sense. That's how it's going to tie it all together. That just seems weird. Number 5. After the download is complete and you have created the new account, you can simply, love how they, jump through these hoops. Go to this web page. It's probably not full of viruses.
It's a piece of cake, man.
But it says you can simply select the car and track combination you wish to test on at testdrive.iracing.com. Once we have completed our maintenance, this new testing will no longer be available. You will need to log into your member account as usual. And of course, don't forget about volume discounts. Purchase any 3 cars and or tracks, get a 10% discount. Purchase 6 or more and get a 20% discount. Also, if you want to wait to purchase the new content until you're back up and running after maintenance, the purchase process will be the same as you are used to. Don't worry, we won't run out of cars. So it's not a pre-order, while supplies last. It's like, oh, you want the Mercedes? Sorry. You can have the Audi, but we ran out of the Mercedes. Sorry about that. But so yes, no, obviously you will be able to, if you want to ignore all of that and just want to wait until they come back up, well, you can do that too. Hopefully, and here is the, not homework per se, but here is the request out to you users out there. If some of you happen to be home during this maintenance period of time, be you're in a different time zone or you happen to have that day off work or whatever, I would love if some of you try this out, because I won't have the opportunity to, because I'll be at work. And actually, not only will I be in work, I'm actually in a training course for work, so I will have no access to do any of this stuff during the day, so I won't get a chance to try, because I'm really curious how this all plays out. So if you happen to give this a shot, send us an email, let us know what your experience is, because I'm very curious to see how that all plays out. So, now, my thought, and maybe this is just the devious side of me that has been around the internet for so long, what if you create an account with somebody else's email address? Because you make the account with the same with the same email that you have your iRacing account tied to. What if somebody makes this test drive account with somebody else's email for that 5-hour period of time? Would they just be able to try out any content that that person owns, and that person wouldn't be able to create an account and do the same thing?
Probably so.
That seems dangerous.
But I would imagine there's some kind of way that they verify that it's you, like maybe a password or put in your birthday or something like that.
I guess what would make sense is if they sent you a confirmation link to your email address and said, hey, you just signed up for this account. Please click this. Please, I hope they thought of that. Because, if they didn't, and somebody wants to use all the content I have because I've just bought everything, then you could use my email address, I guess, because I'm not going to be using it during that 5-hour window. First come, first serve.
Same with mine, because I won't be here.
I can see it now. I'm going to be sitting there. I'm going to be sitting in my course, and my phone just going to go, burp, burp, burp. You recently tried to start an account on this. Please click this confirm link. Mr. Cameron, could you please shut your phone off? I'm sorry. I have it's on vibrate. It's a very strong motor. I'm sorry you can hear that.
Oh man.
But yeah, I'm sure that they thought of that, and it probably sends a confirmation link to so that you can't use somebody else's account. I mean, you couldn't hurt anything. I mean, you go in there, use the stuff. The only problem is that person wouldn't be able to use it for those 5 hours. But again, I think this is. I really think this is a step. This is probably a bit of a behind-the-scenes beta where they want to test having functionality available while they're in maintenance, because I don't think anybody's that desperate that for 5 hours they have to have those cars. This is probably more of a proof of concept thing where, well, you could do this and you could test it out, and mostly we want to see if everything falls on its face when we try to do this, because we want to add bigger and better things to our maintenance period so we could have, in theory, a longer maintenance period when we have bigger builds rolling out or we run into problems or something, so that the site isn't completely down while we're doing that sort of stuff. That's my gut feeling on this. So, so any thoughts on that, Mr. Chad?
I just hope somebody enjoys driving all the cars and the tracks. Because I own everything.
My email again is ratface@gmail.com.
And mine is iRacingLegend@gmail.com.
If I knew for a fact that it wouldn't mess everything up in my entire world, like I'd just say somebody do it, and then I'll just click the first activate link that I get, and then except for it's my account and I put a lot of time and money into it, and I don't want to mess with it. And I'm sure it's probably against Nim. Are you in there? If I'm sure it's probably against the actual user guide, because I know you're not allowed to let people use your account. This probably falls into that account. So okay, Nim, if you're listening, and I know you listen, we're not advocating stealing other people's accounts or using other people's accounts without them being present to test equipment. Sorry, it's a joke. It's a joke. We do that. We joke on the show.
Do we?
I do. I come down here just so I can laugh for like an hour and a half, 2 hours. That's. But
speaking of laughing.
Speaking of laughing.
Yes. By the way,
I was gonna say, I hope that doesn't lead into the poll question, because that's not a laughing matter, man.
I thought it was. No. I thought it was a good segue because it has to do with Nim Cross.
It does. So.
But that's not where I was going yet, because I just wanted to mention that I had pre-ordered said content. I got all 3 pieces.
Cool.
So I'm all ready to go now once I get them downloaded. And we'll see how that goes. Like Trevor said, though, I won't be here during the actual maintenance period, and typically actually stay away from iRacing during build days. That hasn't always been the case, but that is normally the case because I don't know, everything can go blowy up and smoke, and I don't have time for that. So
ain't nobody got time for that.
Nobody got time for that. So, anyways, as you mentioned earlier, you're looking forward to the Mercedes, which I agree. I am really looking forward now to the Audi. They put out videos for the for the Audi and for the Mercedes this week, and they have put a picture out of the Formula Renault 2.0, and supposedly there's a video coming Friday for that.
Cool.
Friday, at least in iRacing Boston time. But that's not been confirmed, but that's just what I've seen. But after I watched the Audi video the other day, wow, that car looks really cool. It sounds pretty cool. It looks really cool, and I am actually super excited to jump out and race. Now, the one thing that I noticed in the video is that they did not show, this is with the Audi, an in-car cockpit view. And somebody actually asked the question, like, well, hey, where's our in-car shot? Because usually they're good for at least one good quick shot of what it looks like from the in-car. And supposedly Audi hadn't really responded with some things, like, okay, we approve the in-car, so to speak. Because just because this is a license, doesn't mean that, the car company gives all the data and everything and says, okay, here you go. And then that's the end of it. Like, they want to make sure that iRacing, got this pretty close or dead on. It's kind of a two-way street there. They want to make sure that their product is being represented in a high quality way.
Mm-hmm.
And so apparently the inside of the car wasn't quite approved yet, so they held out just a little bit to, until Audi gets the, okay, that looks great, man.
Oh, cool.
So, anyways, I thought that was interesting, and I thought I'd bring that up.
Right on. All right. So,
So,
moving on.
now our poll question.
Yes. What do we ask the fine people?
We asked you in February, since our interviews with Nim Cross, which we had two of them last year. If you've not yet listened to those, go back and find them. They were good. But we asked you, have you protested someone on the service? Because obviously we kind of took a different thought process on about the protest system and how it worked after we spoke with Nim a couple times. So we thought it'd be a good time to ask you. The three answers, which are kind of obvious that we gave you to pick, were yes, I have, no, I haven't, thought about it, but didn't. So, no, I haven't got 63% of the votes. Obviously, what we do has no effect on you people, so we should just fold up our tents and quit.
No, that just means that they're having good races and they don't have a situation where they've had to protest people.
True. I like your thinking better. The second answer was thought about it, but decided not to. And that got 23% of the votes. And then getting 14% of the votes was yes, I have. So I voted for thought about it, but didn't. And the thought about it part was there was one race when Trevor and I did that race at Montreal in the IndyCar Winter Series race where one guy was kind of being a jerk about stuff. And I thought about protesting. The second time was actually during the Daytona 500 a couple weeks ago, where somebody was being really bossy towards people. But they never really, I don't know if they ever really said anything that was worthy of a protest. But it was just kind of annoying. And so the thought crossed my mind. But I have not yet protested anyone, still to this day, but have thought about it since our interviews.
Yeah, and I'm the same way. Thought about it, and it's not necessarily that I saw people that I could have but didn't. It was more of I was thinking about it more in a different way. It's like a lot of times when I'd see things happen in some of the races and stuff, I put thought into it when people would do stuff, and I'd actually reason it out. It's like, no, okay, based on what I've seen, no, I don't think that person should be protested. So I've gotten to situations where it got my brain kind of moving in that direction, but in the end decided that, it wasn't something that was worthwhile at that time.
Cool.
So that's kind of the way I thought about it. It did make me think about it a little bit more, based on our conversations, but never ran into any situations. Probably some that were borderline, but nothing that I thought we could actually go ahead with. So that was our thing about it. So anyway, thanks everybody for emailing in and emailing in. Sorry, I'm distracted. But thanks everybody for voting in our poll question, and make sure you head over to, of course, our website, iRacingTodayRadio.com, and vote in for this month's poll question, which, as per normal, we're not going to tell you what it is because, web traffic or something. We don't have any reason to want web traffic. We have no ads. We have nothing to generate anything out of other than the fact that we like the numbers when they go up, and it makes us feel good about ourselves.
It makes us feel loved. But I will say this much about this poll question is that it is one that, we love you guys voting in these, but we really want you to vote in this one because it's actually kind of very important and is something that is a little bit different on the scale of ones that we've done recently. And it's actually one that we've never done anyways, because I am... or I shouldn't say because, but therefore, I am very curious to see what you guys say with the answers that you provide. So please, please, please go vote. You have until March 31 to get this one voted for.
Yeah, and don't be all like, oh, whatever, I'll get to it later on the month, because then you'll totally forget. And don't go over there right
Yeah.
now, because of course we've got our live page up right now, so you can't see it right now anyway. Because
True.
I just cheated to see if I could see what it is, because I don't know what it is yet either. So I was going to go check to see what Chad was talking about, but I can't because we've got our live
It-
show on now.
It involves iRacing.
Cool.
Yeah.
Way to think
Mind
outside
blown.
the box.
One other thing I wanted to mention before we get into our experiences is that on March the 7th at 0000 UTC, which will be at 1900 Eastern Time and 1100 at AEDT time, is that iRacing's server farm NL-AMS, which is the Netherlands/Amsterdam, will be down for maintenance by their service provider. This maintenance will only, bold, underlined, italic, affect the NL-AMS server farm for iRacing.com. So all regions and members will still be able to host and join sessions on other server farm locations.
Cool.
Just know that during that time, it'll be down EST 1900 to 1000, and then UTC 0000 to 1500 AEDT. It will be down for, this is a 15-hour maintenance. I'm just going to put it that way.
15 hours?
Yes.
Dang.
So for 15 hours on the 7th of March, you will not be able to use the NL-AMS servers, which is Netherlands and Amsterdam, just in case you have a league race set up or a hosted room set up under that server farm, and then you're all like, hey, why isn't that working? Well, that's why.
Fair enough. All right. So, a couple more items to take care of here. We've got our experiences and our Season 2 plans. Just a quick hit on that one. And we've got a couple emails that we're going to read out right quick here. And which, mostly because one of them I kind of want some feedback from you guys. So we're going to talk about that. Chad's now in a windstorm again, as people in the video will hear, but the audio will not.
Hello.
Every now and again, you just kind of have to make this chirping noise so it your microphone stops trying to, gain the throw the gain up on it. Okay, on second thoughts, I'll take the wind tunnel. All right, so this past week, I'll talk briefly on the fact that I did my. Well, actually, I'll leave the broadcasting to the end because that'll tie into your experiences as well. So this week we had the Winter Series racing at the Auto Club Speedway in California. I really needed a good race. I didn't make it until the last race of the of the week on the Sunday afternoon, well, late morning for me, and could not afford mistakes, basically, because I needed to get as many points as I could to set myself up in the best possible spot so that this week at Barber I was in a great shape to win the championship or Division 8 in the IndyCar Winter Series. So I will say that I did not make a single mistake. I made several. And
Like what you did there.
yeah, it was. You know what? I felt good there. Like the car felt great. Went out qualified in third position, and barely, like, I was just off the pole. Like, it wasn't third by a bunch. It was third by a tiny bit. And then for the first bit of the race, up to the first pit stop, we went caution free for the entire race. So an entire 100 laps, no cautions. So up to the first green flag race or green flag run, everything was wonderful. I was hanging with the top three. I was sitting in third position for a lot of it. Stretched out my fuel window a little bit longer than they did, so I ended up leading a lap. Came in a lap later than the two guys ahead of me did. Also, I had Tommy Toe in there, who is one of the two other guys who was competing with me for the championship. So it was, I need to get a good points day, and I need to beat Tommy. These are my two goals. So he was running first for a bunch. He's the one who did end up getting the pole. Eventually, I think it was like 15 laps in or something like that, he fell back to second, lost it to the guy ahead of him. And we raced 1, 2, 3 for a bit. I kind of lost the draft on them, so I was a couple seconds back for a big portion of the race, or that first section. Ended up missing the like I said, led a lap when they went into pit. Then I came in for my pit stall, and everything was great. And I pitted, and I got my 4 tires and fuel, and I came out, and I hit my pit limiter a fraction of a second too early, so sped like literally half a car length before the end of pit road. So mental mistake, all on me. I did it. So ended up getting a black flag, which if you're going to get a black flag, get it coming in. Don't get it going out.
Yep.
So I went out on the track, then came back in to serve my penalty, topped up with fuel while I was there, because why not? I'm sitting there for 15 seconds anyway. An extra second isn't going to kill anything, which would let me stretch out a little bit further. Maybe I could play some strategy into this. Maybe there'd be a caution. I don't know. Like I said, spoiler alert, there were no cautions. So I ended up, I think I was 1 lap down at that point in time, and I got into Chad mode. I was mad. I think it was Danny who was one of the guys who was sitting there watching the stream, and they commented, because I was just racing down people. Like, I was passing them like they were standing still. Like, at the end of the race, also spoiler alert, when you look at the actual end standings, I had the fastest lap time of the race. And that didn't happen until even later, after I got even madder. But, so I was mad at my mistake because I screwed up, and I was, frustrated. So I, was passing people as a lap down. I'm holding pace with the leader. I was actually chasing him down for a bunch. I was losing Tommy. Like, I was between the leader and second place, which is Tommy. And I was leaving him and catching the leader. I'm fast. I need a chance to get back on the lead lap. I waited to the last possible moment so that if there were, a caution fell after our second stint, then, maybe I could get my lap back. It was the only chance I had because they don't have lucky dogs in the IndyCar series. So I ended up waiting to the last possible moment to pit. Didn't get the caution I needed, obviously. Came into pit and decided to correct the errors of my previous mistake, and that was, if you're going to speed, you speed on the way in. So I sped on the way in this time. And had to get held for 15 seconds, but hey, I'm already in the pit lane this time, so it's not an extra stop. So now I'm 2 laps down at this point in time, I think. So another penalty, another mental mistake, go back out there. Now I'm really mad. I didn't actually hit my fastest lap of the race until lap... actually, no, it was lap 45. Sorry, it was during that second stint that I got the fastest lap. But... So now I'm even madder because now I've made several mistakes, but I'm looking at it, it's like, you know what? Even though, I'm in this position, I can probably still pull off like a 6th place finish, because a lot of guys had trouble or weren't as fast. Like, I was it was weird because I was so much faster than like half the field. Like, they were just in a different zone of time. It was weird. So I'm just putting down laps, and then somewhere's about halfway through that last stint, or actually probably about 2/3 the way through it, mental lapse and coming off of turn 4, scraped the wall on exit, just got a little bit too ambitious with the gas and scraped the wall, ended up skidding down onto the grass, saved it, didn't hit anything else, but then had to come in. It's like, well, and I could see my right tire was like up. It's like, well, I'm done. So I limped it back around to the pits, and they started fixing it. It's like, huh, I didn't think they would. It's like, and I'm looking, and the timer's counting down. It's like, yeah, but my tire's still like a foot in the air. That's not good. It's like, okay, so I'm waiting, and like as the counter got down to about 10 seconds left of the repairs, I could actually watch the wheel just kind of go, as if one guy was just reefing on it, to try to pull it back into position. I'm shouting out my, the side of my car. I don't think tie rods, I don't think they work that way. You just can't bend them back into spot. They're still bent and broke, man. But they set me up. They set me back out there. So I did my final few laps, and as it turns out, it didn't matter because the repair took just long enough that I couldn't pass the one guy I had a chance of passing. So I ended up 6 laps down and finished in 9th position. So it was definitely a story of grasping defeat from the jaws of victory, because I had a fast car. I was the fastest guy out there. Like, I was passing people. Like, it was I was good, but I made mental mistakes that cost me good points in that race, which was disappointing. And it was more disappointing because it was the last race of the week, so I never had a chance to recover from it, saying, I couldn't go to the next race and say, hey, I'm good, so I can actually get a good finish out of this. There was no chance for that. It was just, oh, well, sorry. And it ended up being basically a drop week. It didn't affect my point standing at all, which was sad because I kind of needed that. I also had one wicked save just before the first pit stop. I was kind of commenting, if you watch the stream, like just before I came in for that first pit stop, it's like, you know what, the rear end's getting a little squirrely. I was adjusting my weight jacker because I was really low on fuel, so I was racing. The back end was just getting a little squirrely. It's like, all right, man, this, I can still handle it. And then I came off of 2, and she went dead sideways on me. I mean, I looked at it from over top, and it wasn't as bad as it felt, but in the cockpit, I felt at least 30 degrees pointed at the inside wall, like when I came off. Like the front end picked up, the rear end let go, and it was like, all right, now we're doing this. And saved it. And I was so happy. And then I think that's why I got that first penalty. I was still pumped. Like, I literally got into my pit stall while they're doing their 6 seconds of service. Like, I closed my eyes and just, like, put my head down. I was like, I can't believe I just saved that car. So I think it was that first mental lapse from that save that cost me the mental error in speeding in the pits. So in the end, it was a bad time for me. Tommy finished second, so he gained some ground on me. But it was a good race, except for the parts where I did all the things wrong. But other than that, it was a great race.
It was great, except for the wrong.
Yeah, except for the parts I screwed up. But anyway, so in the end, it was ended up not being a good night at all for me. But before I leave the Winter Series, this is the last week. There are 10 races left, including one happening in about 40 minutes or so, which I'm hoping to make once we get the show done here. The way it breaks down is this, and hopefully this will change by the time you listen to this, if you're not listening live. But Mark Egerbrod has already raced this week. He raced in the first race. He got 34 points, which puts him 4 points behind me. So he basically has to have a race that's at least 39 points or better to put him in position to beat me. So he has a shot, definitely. Tommy has a 28-point race as his drop week or his potential drop week. It'll be dropped if he doesn't beat it, basically. So he has to beat 28 points in order to make the 28 his drop week. So he's 44 points behind me right now. So I believe he has to get about a 73-point race this week in order to put himself in position ahead of where I'm at now. And the way it comes down is I have a 30-point race, which is the race I need to beat for my drop week. So I have to get anything I get above 30 this week is going to make one more point that those other two guys have got to get. Mark hasn't been very strong on the road courses. He's kind of like Josh was. He's stronger on the ovals. So each week we've both raced during the week. I've beat him on the road courses. Like I've outscored him. So he's only 4 points back. 39 points is not that strong of a race. It can easily be done. So we'll have to see. So it's going to come down to the wire. Like, we will not know how this all plays out until sometime Sunday afternoon. But I'm looking forward to the opportunity, and hopefully I can pull it off. I've still got a decent shot. Hopefully I can get a good race in at Barber. I've been racing the track. It's a fun track. But, like, It is tiring. Like, you are on that wheel, like, constantly. It is a very busy track. And there's a couple of weird blind corners and some elevation changes and a couple of corners where you are hitting them really fast, so you're really coming on that wheel to make sure it's not, so you can keep it on track on your racing line. So I anticipate it's going to be a physically demanding race to get this done. But it was I'm looking forward to it. I think I can get a good finish out of it. My times are about mid-pack right now for what I've been able to accomplish, so we shall see. Other than that, I did we did the Power Series race as well. Just briefly talking on that, it was just they were doing their Daytona race, so I jumped in because a bunch of my teammates were racing. So if you're going to jump into a race and you want to race with your teammates, well, some super speedway racing is a good way to go. So went out there, not a lot. I mean, it was fun. I had lost the draft at one point in time, and some pit strategy and stuff. So I think I finished 11th. I think it ended up being, but it was just fun. It was just good dumb fun. You know what I mean? Like, just and even though the draft model isn't perfect or great at this point in time, it was still fun. Like I miss that style of racing. And with my, I can't remember if I've actually done super speedway racing with my new wheel and my new pedals, but I definitely felt more in control. Although there was a couple times I ran into that situation we talked about before the Daytona 500 where I was coming off that corner and I'm letting off and I'm letting off and I'm still drifting off the corner. It's like, and I hit the brakes a couple times to make sure that I didn't drift up into the second lane a few times because the car just kept, it's like, nope, you're going up. It's like, there's cars there. I can't. So I actually had to come on the brakes a couple times to keep myself from drifting off that bottom line. But in the end, yeah, it was fun. I didn't crash out, didn't kill my car, finished 11th, one lap down because pit strategy and losing the draft and stuff. But still a lot of fun. So, and you were in that race as well there, Chad, as were several of our teammates.
Yeah, I was. I was in there. It was fun.
And then I will just talk briefly on Saturday, and then I will turn to you. Is that we had I had my first experience as the lead broadcaster for the Global Sim Racing channel, doing the Continental Endurance Sports Car Series, and their first race of the season. I'm going to be with them all season long, except for when work sends me out of town and I have conflicts, but I should hit all of those. I think they race 10 races throughout the course of the year, but once a month on road courses, and it's a multi-class series, MX-5 and the Ford FR500S, and it was a lot of fun. Like, I had a good crew up there with me to help me out, and I hopefully you guys had a chance to listen to it, whether live or on the archive. But I don't know, it felt good. I felt like me and the team had some pretty good chemistry, and it was a lot of fun being the lead guy because I didn't have to concentrate on the little minute details, of each class of car, because that's the guys I was working with. I was there, what they were doing. I was just kind of like the overall storyteller, which is, as you guys know, I love to tell a story. I love to go down rabbit holes and just pick a thread of something and go and run with it. So that's kind of what I get to do as the as the lead broadcaster. So, which was kind of cool. I got to be the Darrell Waltrip, although without the forgetting everybody's names and numbers part that he does all the time. So hopefully you guys had some fun with that. I'm going to be continuing to do that series. I'm also doing, the other series I mentioned with them. So once every couple of weeks or so, you'll see me up at the broadcast booth one way or another. So should be a lot of fun. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. But the key point to that race was the fact that Chad was in it. So that's why I said I'd lead right to Chad, because I was up in the broadcast booth and there was Mr. Chad down there on the track. And what was that experience like?
It was interesting. It went through about 3 different phases of emotions. It started with, let's see how terrible I'm going to do, to some excitement, to, wow, this is really boring. And I'll explain. So basically, at the start of the race, I think there were only 9 Fords in there, which not a very big field. Some of the people didn't show up because there's like 21 signed up. So not sure where the rest of them were. But anyways, so I still am struggling a little bit with getting the overall feel and pace of this car, but I felt okay with where I was, enough to get out there and do the race. And first of all, the new paddle shifters that I got, even though the Ford Mustang is an H pattern car, I actually changed it to a sequential car to use the paddles so that I could kind of break them in and get them going. And I love them. They are great.
Awesome.
So provided they don't suddenly fall off, I should be able to enjoy these for quite a long time. That was a good race to kind of break them in and get used to them with. So the start of the race, not really a whole lot went on. I was kind of battling. I was in 6th. I kind of battled for 5th for a while. The guy in 5th kept trying to run me off the road in turn 1. That wasn't very fun. And they never showed it on the broadcast, so I don't know what those idiots up there were thinking, but
I wasn't in charge of the cameras. I just got to talk about what was happening on the cameras.
Well, something was happening and you didn't talk about it. I
I
mean,
talked. You weren't. It wasn't caught on camera when you spun out, but I talked about that because I knew it happened. So
that's true. I haven't got to that point of the race. Anyways, all joking aside, the 95 and I actually had a pretty good battle. There were a couple of times, though, I kind of jokingly said he tried to run me off the road, but there were a couple of times where it was like, whoa, dude, I'm over here. And I thought we were going to crash. So I was trying to avoid that extra big time, being, my first rodeo in their league. Want to make sure I'm all nice and clean, which I was. Nothing ever happened. We were all good. As Trevor mentioned, later in the race, I did have a self spin, which was, I don't even know if you could call that a spin. I just kind of slid to a stop.
you just were suddenly not facing entirely the right direction.
Yes. Kind of overdrove turn one a little bit and kind of tried to overcorrect, but not in the sense of the steering wheel, just in the sense of the braking, and that caused me to spin a little. I will also say, though, that the first fuel run, my car was actually really good, and I was competitive. I was racing for fifth. I was in sixth, kind of holding off seventh. And at the pit stop, I decided I'm going to make a tire pressure change because the only thing you can change when you're in the race in the Ford Mustang is tire pressures. There are no other, there's no in-car settings, no car adjustments once you're in the car. The only thing you get is the tire pressures. And I'd read some information about tire pressure settings, and I thought, well, maybe I'll raise them a little bit to see if that helps me. Wow, did that not help me? That made everything worse. That actually led to my spin, I think, because I got way worse than where I was. Like the first run, I was actually really happy, even though I was still slow, compared to the leaders. And I was 2, 3, well, probably more about 2 seconds slower than them. But I was still comfortable and happy with the way things were going. And then that second run there was a disaster. I could not do anything with that car. Lost a lot of time to the guy in fifth, and the guy got around me, so I fell back to seventh. So fifth and sixth were like long gone. Then I spun. That made it even worse. And so in the end, I on the last pit stop, I ended up going back on the changes that I made. So the last run I was actually really good. Again, like the first part, except that was the boring part of the race because I ended up being all by myself, really nowhere, nothing to do with it. And as we mentioned last week, they do have 4 course cautions, and we only had one, and it
Right.
was on the second lap of the race where a Mustang had nosed it into the wall in turn one.
Yeah, like
And
there's
after
so
that-
much place for you to spin out and not hit anything. And I watched him go in, and he just hit it just wrong, where he just killed his car on that tire barrier.
Yep, he did. So that ended up being our only caution. So everything got really spread out, and I say this in a good way, but it got boring because I ended up being by myself. That's the only reason why it got boring. It had been fun to be around. Like I passed some Mazdas or Miatas, whatever you want to call them, every now and again, but that's not really much of a fight because you're like 10 seconds faster than they are.
Right.
So, but other than that, I enjoyed it. It was a little frustrating trying to figure out how to get faster. I was trying to figure out how I should shift the car, if there was a difference, because some cars are picky on how you shift. Some cars you should shift quicker. The
Right.
cars you should let it go all the way up through the RPMs and then shift. I still haven't learned what to do in the Ford Mustang. I tried every way. During that part where I was all by myself, I was actually experimenting. I would short shift it, then I would go all the way up through the gear, trying to compare lap times. I didn't learn much. I don't know what I'm doing. And I was kind of getting a little frustrated because I was like, man, these guys are so freaking fast, and I don't know how they're doing it. And then after the race was over with, I looked at the standings. By the way, I only had one incident point where I barely cut the bus stop. It actually didn't give me any incident points for my little spin, which is why I don't call it a spin, because I just kind of slid to a stop.
You never got past 180 degrees, so it didn't count.
Yeah, didn't count. So, anyways, I was looking at the results after the race. Every single person who finished ahead of me, and for the record, except for one car, everybody was on a team, meaning like they had more than one driver driving the car. And there was only one driver who did it solo, like myself, who finished ahead of me. Everybody had an I rating of at least 25 or 2600. There were two people that were outside of the 4,000 range, and that was like 2,600 and 3,600. Everybody else was like 43, 44, 45, 46. One guy was just under 5,000, just barely missing the 5,000. So once I saw all that, I was like, oh, well, that explains a lot.
So
They're
that's
just
how it
three
is.
times better than me.
Yeah, it was, and obviously you didn't get the chance to watch it because you were driving it. But from up in the broadcast booth, it was pretty obvious that this was a fairly high caliber of driver. Because I mean, I'm watching some of these guys, and some of the moves they're making, like side by side, going through turn one and like turn one, turn two, turn three, and like staying side by side and staying off each other. Like it was a lot of stuff that I'm looking. It's like, there's not enough room to do what you guys are doing. Like, stop it. But they were doing it and doing it completely clean and off each other. Like it was, you could tell it was there was a caliber of racing that was above anything I've ever accomplished by a long shot. So
Yeah, and the ending of the race, last thing I'll say, actually had a photo finish. It was really cool. I got to see the photo finish after the race, but I will say that during the race, I wish you guys would have been interviewing me at this point because as I was driving around the racetrack, the last 10 laps of the race, I was a little, kind of bored. I threw up the standings just to check and see. It was like, who's even leading? Like how far apart is everybody? And I started watching it for a couple laps. And I was like, man, that guy in second's really catching that leader. I just kept watching it and kept watching it, and they were getting kind of close to me. They were within about 20 seconds of me or so. So I like flipped to the relative and would check it like every time I was on the straightaway. It just kept coming down and kept coming down. It's like the last lap, it's like 1.2 seconds, and I'm like, that dude's gonna pass him. And like it kept getting closer on the last lap and kept getting closer, kept getting closer. I crossed the line to get the white flag, and I went through, the first part of the racetrack, and then I kept looking, almost wrecked, because I kept looking at the relative, because I was like, man, he's gonna get him, he's gonna get him. And I was like, they should be at the start finish line about now, and it's like, oh, I think he got him. And then I flipped to the standings, and sure enough, I think the margin of victory was like 0.0025 or something like
yeah, I
that.
think I think it was 0.025. I think is what it was. It was less than a third of a car length when they pass each
Yeah,
other. Like he had passed him after they left turn four. Like he had
yeah,
just passed him with enough momentum to get by him, kind of thing. Like it was a great finish.
it really
So
was. So I thought that was cool, even though I didn't see it until afterwards. But I was like, "Whoa, man, that was awesome!" So I was kind of watching it, during the race, and I was like commentating to myself because nobody can hear me. I was like, "Dude, he's gonna catch him! I know he's gonna catch him." But it was very interesting. I don't know how well I'm gonna do in that series, especially because somebody made the comment afterwards that all the fast teams didn't show up.
oh dear.
And I was like, oh dear gosh, please do not ever tell me that again. So yeah, that might be my only top 10 of the whole year. But hey, it was still fun. It'll give me a chance to drive the Ford Mustang and participate in that car because I've never really raced it in a season, and it's kind of my goal to race everything at least once. So, anyways, got that done, and next race is Laguna Seca at the end of this month. So we'll see how that goes with the corkscrew.
Blah, gross.
Yeah, Daytona, as Trevor mentioned, was fun. I ended up getting in a wreck about halfway through, which was kind of a stupid wreck that really should not have happened. And then Dean Mull obviously did not listen to our crash avoidance tip episode because he did not get the memo on when cars are crashing, you try to avoid them.
No, well, I believe at some point in time during that we said aim for the wreck, and you were the wreck, so we aimed right at you. You had to swerve a couple times before he finally got you, but
Yeah, but when I said aim for the wreck, it was because the odds of them not being there is pretty good because they're probably going to spin up. In this case, I kept spinning down. So aiming at the wreck went out the door, like on that one, very early. And yet Dean just kept going right down the racetrack.
Yep, you sure did.
Right into me. It was kind of funny. I got some entertainment out of that, that's for sure. So that was short-lived. And other than that, that is all of my racing experience from the past week because I'm trying to save data for the new build.
Right, the new build, and then, of course, the 12 hours of Sebring.
Yep.
So,
which, by the way, we are trying to get our teams together now to get out there and the 12 hours of Sebring. I don't know if we mentioned that earlier. So we will be out there and we will have the streams that we have running on our show website, but more details will come on that next week.
Right. Not everything is still being nailed down. I'm not going to be participating myself because, well, you know, between the broadcasting and all the other stuff, I've been kind of taking a lot of time down here in my office doing racing stuff. So I've decided to forego this particular race, but I'll probably put a stream up for one of the teams and just have my computer down here churning away to entertain you fine folks while while I'm not down here racing. So,
Yep.
So that is all of that. Let's see. Like I mentioned, we had a couple emails, but they're a little bit more detailed, and there's some stuff I want to actually research a little bit into before, so we can actually answer them a little bit better. So I'm going to save them for next week. I know next week's going to be a busy show anyway, but I was kind of looking through them while we were talking, and there's a couple things I really want to talk about in there. So we'll save those for next week and talk a little bit about them. One final mention as far as my racing experiences, I did hook up the button box. I haven't had much of a chance to play with it in race yet, but I did hook it up, and it was, I can speak from the very beginning of it, it was simple. I plugged it in, Windows 10 had the little install thing pop up at the bottom, it went away, I went into iRacing and said, you know, I want to change my fuel mixture with a button, hit a button on the box, and it just worked. So, you know, I'll give it a little bit more of a, you know, through its paces, see how useful it is, you know, in my day-to-day racing. But for now, I've hooked it up, and it just simply worked. So, I mean, that's all you want.
Yep.
You don't want anything to be complicated. You want it to say, hey, I want this button right here to change my fuel mixture up, and it does. So, you know, there was no extra configuring, nothing I had said, okay, now go look at this device. It was just press which button you want to change your fuel mixture up. This one on the box. And it said, okay, all right, I'm sold. I mean, you know, so it was nice and easy. I'm going to have to, like I said, I'm going to have to kind of go through and figure out what I really want over there. You know, I'm going to have to figure out some stuff, you know, Chad probably knows some good macro stuff that I can make it, you know, like I want to be able to hit a button that says only change the right side tires on my car, you know, when I'm doing NASCAR stuff. That'd be convenient, you know, stuff like that. So I'll have to figure out how that all works, but hopefully I'll have put it through a little bit more of its paces. I want to give it its, you know, a fair shake, but as of right now, it just works. You know, is what I can say for right now. But yep. I'll put it through some more of its paces over the next little bit here. So, just to finish out the show here, just a quick little check-in. Now that we're just about into season 2, well, technically we got one more week 13, obviously next week, and then the week after that we're going to be going into season 2 of 2016. My winter series will be over, which is all I've been concentrating on now. So, I just want to do a quick check-in and say, you know, hey, what is everybody's plans for season 2 of 2016? For me, I really want to concentrate on more road stuff. Just because I've been getting better at that, I've been enjoying it. I want to put some more time into it. I'm liking. I am, after 6 months, I'm kind of liking the fact that I won't be nailed into a schedule of you have to have a race at this point during the week. It'll be nice to jump into one of the more open series where I can, you know, every 2 hours I have a chance to race kind of thing. So I'm kind of looking forward to it. 6 months is a long time to dedicate to a series, I'll tell you that. I'm either going to stick with the IndyCar and do the road series. They race every 2 weeks on the road, and then every other week they're doing the oval. So I might actually just kind of stick to the same schedule and just do the oval and the road, the oval, the road, just in different series and with more options as far as race times. I might go that direction. Or I might just go with just the road stuff, and that would give me 2 weeks to actually prep for a race so I can get even better at it and maybe really make some strides in becoming a better racer in that direction. Or the other side, I'm looking at the Formula Renault 2.0, and that really looks like a cool car, and I kind of want to try that one out too. Even though it's not really a good, I talked on Twitter today, it's not a really good transitionary car to go from IndyCar to the Formula One car. I know it's a step down kind of thing, but it's also more that European style of, open wheel cars. So I might do it anyway, even though it's kind of a step down in overall speed, I believe, from the IndyCar. So I think I'm going to go open wheel. More roadside stuff is kind of my idea. I just haven't nailed down if it's going to be in the Renault or the IndyCar yet. That's kind of where I'm thinking. What about you, Chad?
Well, I have decided that since I don't yet have real internet, and for the record, a quick update is that they're working on it, essentially.
Quick update. Soon.
Pretty much. I think they stole iRacing soon. So I'm hopeful that at some point during season 2 I will get that. But because I am limited on data, but I do have quite a lot of data, and now that I have experienced enough racing and including, like the Daytona 500, where I do have some reports of a few blinks where people will say, hey, blinked out for just a quick second, but it appears to be nothing major. It's not like I'm all over the racetrack and blinking out for a whole lap or something. It's just little micro stuff. I feel confident enough. And another thing is that I have never been kicked out so far, knock on wood, with my cell phone connection. I've never been kicked from a race or dropped the signal to this point. So I'm going to try to get back into some full-time racing, even though I said I wasn't. But now I've gained some confidence in it that I think I'll give it a shot. So my plan is in season 2, obviously, I will race on the ITSR league stuff when I feel like it, when I have data, and when it is convenient. And then I'll obviously jump in the Mustang series that we've talked about. That's once a month, so that's easy. But my full-time plans, because the races in both series are only 25 minutes each week, they're short enough that should really not even touch my data, so that would be great. And I could have some fun and compete for a championship, or at least try to get a good run in both series. And there are 2 cars I wanted to drive anyways full time to check off my list, and that would be the Kia Optima car, or not Optima, but is it the Kia Optima?
I think, isn't it? It's a Kia something or other.
I think so.
I think it's Optima.
Anyways, I'm going to race the Kia. And then I'm going to run the Rough Cup, which uses the Rough C-Spec, I think it is. So anyways, those, like I said, they're 25-minute races each. And the times that I have tested my connection in Carb Cup races, which essentially last 25 minutes, if you will, it didn't even touch my data. Essentially, it was like 0.5%. So I'm thinking, if I did 2 of those a week, 1 per series, that I should hardly ever use data and should be able to make all the races and will, hopefully have a lot of fun. And I've already run the Rough quite a bit. The Kia is going to be pretty much brand new. The one thing I like about the Rough is that it's fixed setup. The Kia is open. So I will have to find some setups for that one, or at least a good baseline setup to use everywhere. But I think it'll be fun. It'll be kind of interesting to get out there, race those. And then hopefully my plan is by season 3, if I've got real internet going by then, which I better have, I will then jump into the V8 car. And I was looking at another series, maybe prototype racing or something like that. So that's my plan. I'm not going to, these series I'll take seriously, but being under data, if I have to miss a week because of a data crunch, then I will. It's not going to be a big deal.
Right.
So just going to go out there, try to have some fun, try to compete for some wins maybe, and some points, and we'll see where it goes.
Cool. All right, so that is our plans as they are for 2016 season number 2. So obviously, you guys, let us know what you guys are doing. I mean, What's your thought? Are you trying to improve on, something on the roadside, the oval side, trying to learn a new car? What's your thought on season 2 and what you're going to be doing? So let us know through our feedback email, which we're going to read in a second here. But with all that being said, we've got a big jam-packed show for you guys next week because we'll have the release notes. We'll hopefully have some build impressions at that point in time. We'll have an update on the Winter Series and how that all played out because that'll all be done by then. And then those emails we mentioned. So we got a big show for you guys next week. So stay tuned for next Thursday where we will talk a lot about that. And I'll probably talk a lot about the division because I'm going to be playing a bunch of that come Monday. So, but not till 10 o'clock at night. Boo. But anyway, thanks to everybody out there for listening. We really, really do appreciate it. We say it over and over again, but we truly mean it. The show is all about you guys and the entertainment that we can bring to you guys. So thank you so much. Remember, the show is available for download on iTunes under the podcast section, where we would really appreciate a review to help us get the word out. The show is also archived on YouTube under Ratface Productions, and it's Cadillac. You can check out the website for live shows, archives, information, links, and that brand new poll question. And you can see all of that over at iRacingTodayRadio.com. Of course, follow us on Twitter. I'm at iRacingToday, and he is at It's Cadillac.
You can email any questions, comments, and poll suggestions that you may have, and of course your season plans for season 2. To feedback at iRacingTodayRadio.com. Of course, feel free to add us as friends on iRacing.com if you have not yet. And if you are joining iRacing in the near future, or, maybe for the new build that's coming up on Tuesday, please refer us in the referral box when you sign up. You can enter Trevor's email, which is ratface@gmail.com. You can also potentially sign in with that to race free content on Tuesday.
No.
We do not encourage that.
Do not do that.
Or the iRacingLegend@gmail.com email is mine. But until next week, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy the new build, and remember that the race is rarely won in the first turn,
But it is often lost there. Good night, everybody.